that in mind, what are your thoughts as you look ahead to the 2024 Outlaw Midget season?
Well, I think it's going to be a good one. I mean, we say that sort of every year, right? It's always
Mhm.
going to be a great season, but I think this one will be very competitive. I think a lot of the other drivers have stepped up their games, and it's fun. Like the atmosphere is fun to race with the drivers that we do have in the club.
Yeah.
Predominantly, that's what they're there for, right? It's to have a good time. Nobody's getting rich racing. Doesn't matter what level of racing you're doing, you're not getting rich. So you might as well have a good time doing it. So yeah, I think for the 2024 season, it is going to be a hoot. But sadly for me, it looks looking ahead to my work schedule, I'm going to have a tremendous amount of conflicts, unfortunately, this year. So unless
Oh
something
man.
changes drastically, we'll get out. We're just not going to get out as often as we did last year.
Right. You're talking about the atmosphere at the club, and I think one of the things that I've kind of always found like with it is the family atmosphere. With fact, you've got both you and your brother racing, and then you've got Nick and Kevin Spees, Derek Millman and his son, and it kind of makes a fun dynamic of the family race within the race on top of the race against everybody else.
It totally does, and I know personally, racing against my brother when you come up against the 53 and you're chasing him, or you look over and you see that orange nose, sort of peeking right beside you, you just dig a little bit harder. So it sort of makes you that much more competitive when you're racing against somebody that has the same last name as you for sure. I know Derek and Zach Millman. I mean, Derek's just happy being out with Zach on the track at the same time. I think that was a goal for them, and Nick and Kevin Spees too. They're very happy just to be out there. I think Kevin loves to see Nick do really well,
Hmm.
and I think Kevin's going to come back with something for him this year.
Out of the races that you are going to be able to run this season, what track are you
Oh,
most
excuse me.
excited to get to?
Peterborough, fall colors for sure. That's definitely one that you circle on your calendar, and I was delighted to win it last year. It was a hard fought race for sure,
Right.
and one of the few that we got aired on GeForce TV. So it was nice to see that the club showed well, very competitive, and yeah, it was good to get that recognition and sort of that just the spotlight for a short period of time, because normally we're one of the first features that rolls out on a night, or maybe one of the last features that rolls out on a night, so people have not yet made it back from the concession stand, or maybe have packed it up a little bit early. So it's nice to see that we got that spotlight at fall colors, and we put on a good show. But yeah, that to me, that is the pinnacle. I mean, sunset with the velocities, both spring and fall velocities, those are big events too,
Hmm.
and great events to win. And Frostfest and Flamborough is now for us. I mean, we hadn't been there for many years, and now returning to that track. And the race that we put on last year, I think there was five of us at the front of the field. It was Larry, my brother, Hooligan was there, Nick, and myself, and we were just sort of all nose to tail, pretty much for the entire race distance. It was a great race to run. It was a lot of fun to race for sure.
I was gonna ask what your most memorable moment of the year was, but I gotta assume it was Autumn Colors, just because of
Yeah,
that fact of you winning the race and your brother winning the championship all at once.
yeah, exactly. That was one of those. That was one of those days that it was, yeah, magical for Bradley Brothers Racing. Everybody was there. The family, my entire family was there. My wife, kids. Mike had his girlfriend, and her daughter was there. His daughter was there as well, and both my parents were there. And yeah, for us, it's always been a family atmosphere ever since we started racing. When I got into go karts first, just before I was 16 years old in Ottawa. And ever since we said go, my dad would come to the track every weekend. My mom would be there every weekend. And then when my brother got back from college, he saw that and he was just like, well, that looks like fun. I'm going to do that. So he joined us, and there Bradley Brothers Racing was born.
And then we went from you guys sharing a ride to getting your own rides, and now basically rewriting a history book one page at a time.
Yeah, for sure. It's yeah, sharing a ride was difficult. Like it was one of those things again because I'm not available to be at the races every single weekend, so it sort of made sense for us in the beginning.
Hmm.
Mike is like, well, you run the races you can run, and I'll run the other ones. But we have such different driving styles that the car was set up different, so it would be a struggle. We'd get it tuned in for Mike, and he'd run a couple races and be quick, and then I'd get in and be like, this car, I can't hang on to it. And so we'd make all kinds of wholesale changes, and then it would put him back at the starting point as well for the next race. So it really held us back as far as competitiveness goes. And then yeah, we came upon the 15 car. It was a screaming deal. Somebody was getting out, and they wanted to get rid of it fairly quickly, and it happened just before COVID. So we picked that car up for a song, and it's my brother took a lot of time in the garage during COVID, stripped it right down. Just made sure all the welds were good.
Hmm.
It's a Westwood chassis, so it's going to be good. It's a striker chassis,
Yep.
one of the most dominant in the Outlaw Midgets for sure. So it's got good bones, and it was just a matter of making sure it was safe, making sure it was clean, and then yeah, just fit and finish, put a new body on it, and it performs fantastic. Like it is a dream to drive, and I keep telling him, I'm like, why don't you drive my car? Just try it in practice. And he's like, no, no, I won't try it. So I think he feels like he's cheating on his own car if he was to jump behind the wheel. But he did so much work on that car, and it's like I say, it is just a dream to drive. And the engine, my dad built the engine in the basement. I mean, we got it out of an old 440 Pro X snowmobile, and picked it out, and there's nothing special done to it. It's just we look at it, we do the maintenance on it, and we go out and we have a good time.
For sure. I mean, it's always a fun time when you guys are at the track and you can always see the smiles going on there.
Yeah, I mean, we do have our days, as
I
as anybody does at the racetrack,
was
because
gonna say
that's
they happen once in a while.
exactly that's what makes the wins so much sweeter, right? When you have
Yep.
those down days and the frustrations. I mean, so I look back in that 15 car, and the first two races I had it out were both at sunset, and both times I came home cradled on the back of a wrecker, and it was like I just went, what am I doing? Like this beautiful car, and so much work went into it, and I was like, I give up. I'm done. I don't even want to
Yeah.
do this anymore. It's not worth it. And my brother's like, that's silly. So he fixed it, and he's like, come on, it's ready. Go ahead and race it. So yeah, that's he's been the driving force behind the team, and my parents too. I mean, my mom is out in the garage helping with setups, and my dad's right out there and working on engines and stuff like that. So again, that's a commitment that I really can't make every in between the races is doing the maintenance. Like
Hmm.
I'll go up a day early before a race, and we'll do a lot of work sort of the night before, and then put it in the box and go to the track. But yeah, it's all the little stuff and the working on it and all of that, and it needs to be done to make sure that we don't have the breakdowns on the track.
For sure. We saw the speed that you guys have had, so this becomes a difficult question. And what do you feel that you need to work on to keep getting faster? Because let's face it, the competitors are probably looking to find that extra edge too.
Oh yeah, for sure, and they're coming,
Hmm.
guaranteed. They're coming. So for us, I think like it's just I think we're down to the little bits. I mean, there is still speed in that car for sure. I
Yeah.
mean, I couldn't catch Jessica James when she was out there. I was close, but I couldn't quite catch her. But yeah, there's still speed, and I think there's a lot of speed left in the driver too. It's just being more consistent, and clicking off those fast laps time after time, and just working on myself. I think is probably the main thing.
Right.
The car is I would say 9/10 there. Most days the car is outperforming me. So now it's just the nut behind the wheel that I have to work on.
We've talked about before how you got started in racing, so I'm gonna switch gears a bit. Where did the you be getting involved on the announcing side come about? Because I mean, we've seen you do a great job there.
Oh, well, thank you very much. But yeah, that was I from a young age we used to go to the races, and I'd listen to the announcers, Brian Mulligan at Cornwall Speedway, and we used to do the dirt circuit because we
Hmm.
were we grew up in Montreal, and then we moved to Ottawa. So Cornwall was kind of in between. So we went there every Sunday night for years and years. So I'd listen to the announcer and listen to how they did it, and then it just by happenstance I was doing hockey because I wanted to be in sports broadcasting. I was in news broadcasting, but I wanted to be in sports broadcasting, and I was working for Rogers doing the Barrie Colts, and
Right.
that's when the Barrie Speedway Power Hour was launched, and the people at Rogers said, "Do you know anything about racing?" And I'm like, I think I might know a thing or two. So I got into it that way, and yeah, it just sort of it ballooned from there. And then Joel called one day and he said, "We need somebody to do play by play for the NASCAR Canada Series." And yeah, so I've been on TSN almost 20 years now, believe it or not.
Gee, wow, long time.
Yeah, I know. I look back to the old days, and I didn't have any gray in my beard, and I had hair, and it was all great times.
So with the NASCAR Canada Series and just being able to travel the country with them and doing all these different events, what's been your favorite track to go to with them?
Oh, that's a really good question because there are so many hidden gems right
Yeah.
across the country. You look at Riverside out in the East Coast. I mean, that is a beautiful track. I used to love Barrie Speedway. That was always home to me as far as an asphalt track goes because that's where I did sort of um, start a love for asphalt racing because I grew up watching dirt track all the time, and every once in a while we'd go see an asphalt race, and I'm like, really, what's this all about? But like Barrie Speedway was so competitive, and you were so close to the action. That's why I really liked it. But there are other tracks just like that. I mean, GP3R as an event, that is
Mhm.
one not to be missed. That is a fantastic event to go to. But like you look at tracks, the track in Saskatoon is a really really racy track too. It reminds me of the old Kawartha Downs Speedway. If you
Okay.
remember that one, it was really wide and two really good grooves, and you could sort of flow through the corners. And yeah, it promotes really good side by side close racing that way. But I do love the little tight bull rings. Chaudière, Autodrome Chaudière is a really good one too in Quebec.
Yeah. Like I say, it's not it's I see you mentioned like GP3R and it's a lot of the other drivers have talked about that in the Canada series. Just because like you say, it's the whole festival and that, and that it's not just what happens on the track there, which is it's interesting how Quebec puts all that together just for that one weekend.
They love it. They absolutely live and breathe motorsports in that area of the country. At Autodrome Chaudière, which is only about 45 minutes an hour away from Quebec City, it's another case where they just pack the grandstands when the circus comes to town. Right, that's what I always call it when the NASCAR Canada Series pulls in, and yeah, they that area of the world just lives and breathes motorsports, and it's infectious. Their excitement over it is so infectious, and
Right.
that's what makes it such a great event. And then at GP3R, you have so many different classes racing on the track at the same time, and they all put on a great show in their own right. You know what I mean? Like you've
Okay.
got the everything from the Formula 1600s to the FEL Sports Car Series to the Super Production Challenge, which has a standing start for sports cars. That's super cool. And then they race into the night at GB3R with walls on both sides. I think they might be crazy.
Oh, so I didn't even realize that they do night stuff there too.
Yeah, Friday night is they start at dusk
Oh.
and they'll race, and that's difficult to call that race because all you see is headlights, and you're like, I think this is what we're looking at. But yeah, you can really tell if somebody's brakes are going bad.
Last question for you. From your experience with the Outlaw Midgets, what would be a piece of advice to somebody that's looking to get involved in the club?
Have with the outlaw midgets, they look like they might be easy to drive. They are animals to drive, but they're a lot of fun and it's really rewarding when you hit it right.
Right.
For advice, I would say ask a lot of questions. Lean on your fellow competitors for answers, for tips, for help. We're here to help. That's what we do as part of the club. We want to see everybody succeed. We want to see that close competition, and yeah, just try not to overthink it too much, and
Mm.
you don't have to spend a ton of money in the
Right.
beginning. You just make sure all your safety equipment is up to date and up to snuff, and go out and have a great time. But it's a big learning curve. Like, think about it. Mike has been racing nearly full time for 10 years in that car, and he just won the championship now. So
Yeah.
that's sort of the learning curve to get quick that you're looking at, right? If you think you're going to jump in and go fast right off the hop, it's difficult for sure.
Mhm. Alrighty.